notification and return, the powers of regulatory authority, and the penalties in case of non-compliance. So, talking on to the economic substance notification, by and now, every one of you must be aware that you have to file two type of notification or two type of information with the regulatory authorities. One is notification, another one is return. We still get inquiries and we still get the questions from the confused licensees as to what is notification and what is return. So to make it very clear, I know it is basic and you all are aware of it, but notification is something with which you will notify to the regulatory authorities that whether you're conducting a relevant activity or you are not conducting a relevant activity. Whereas return is something more than a notification, wherein you will have to quantify many things. You will have to provide the details in a more detailed manner, and notification is a first step for return, like it is also given in the guidance note and also provided in the cabinet resolution, that you can file a return only if you have filed a notification. So it is very important in first place that you assess yourself and check whether you need to file a notification, do you conduct a relevant activity or not. So this is very important. Notification is a very important thing. It is a mandatory thing that needs to be filed with the regulatory authorities. So who has to file the notification? All the licensees, irrespective of whether the licensee has earned an income from the relevant activity or not. Because we are frequently getting this question that, okay, we are not earning anything from this activity. Do we still need to file notification? The answer to that is yes. You will have to file the notification in case you have with your licensed activity as a relevant activity, or even if you don't have that activity on your license, but if you're carrying out that activity in substance, you will have to notify it to the authorities. You will have to file this notification with your regulatory authorities. So please keep in touch with your authorities and check with them that what is the due date to file the notification. They will be sending you the circulars, they will be sending you some guidance note, FAQs as to where, how and when you have to file the notification. What definitely you will, all the forms that we have seen by now, these are the major details that a notification form precisely mentions. You have to provide your details, that is licensee details as per your name as per the trade license number, the registered address of the company, the reportable period, that is the financial year of the company that company is following, details relating to your relevant activities. So now this is very important because as soon as you select yes or no, you will have to file in further details. Suppose you are selecting no, it means there is nothing to be filed. You directly go to the declaration and there will be a pop-up on the right hand side or in the form that since you do not conduct a relevant activity, you don't need to file the notification. So this pop-up comes in case you are a DAVSA entity, then you might get such pop-up. But if you see other forms like RAC ICC, there is no such pop-up coming up. So it depends. It will vary. The form is not structured in a similar pattern for all the regulatory authorities. It is structured in a different pattern, but by and large, the details as to the notification will remain same. So these would be the details that you'll have to punch in. Now, more details in regards to your relevant activity. If you're conducting, if you put yes, then you will have to select that exactly which relevant activity category you fall into. The categories are as mentioned by Mr. Manu in the previous session. Those are the 9 categories, 9 relevant activities. So you'll have to select that in which relevant activity you fall into. Further, you'll have to furnish the details that whether you are earning any income from that activity and does the income which is earned in UAE is taxable in any other jurisdiction outside UAE. You will have to select. The entire form would be a yes-no form. So all the details would be either yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So similarly, when we go to section 4, which is additional information, so there you'll have to fill in the details whether your company falls in the category of an exempted entity, which is holding 51% more or more of your shareholding by any of the exempted category. And further related to, in case you are carrying on an intellectual property business, which is one of the relevant activity. So you'll have to notify that whether it is a high risk intellectual property business or a normal intellectual property business, because for high risk, the compliance requirement is a bit additional or higher. So that those details you'll have to file. And finally, there comes as a declaration. In declaration, you'll have to provide the details relating to your contact person who can be contacted by the regulatory authority as and when required, or when you are required to file the additional information. So this should be someone who as per your trade license, as your general manager or managers, or any person who can be reached out, your compliance officer, your tax officer, or your CFO, who possess enough information to answer that question. So it can be any person as per your constituent documents who has authority, or any person who can be legally become a person of contact in time during the time of need. So these are the details which you need to submit in your economic substance notification. It looks very simple, but again, I would suggest that it is better to get your activities being assessed before you file this notification. Having said that, if you think that your activity does not fall as a relevant activity and you don't want, and you are not filing a notification, you may face penalty if you are conducting a relevant activity. So this offense can be led that you have not furnished the details with the authority. Secondly, if you're filing the information but you're not selecting the current relevant activity, then also you might have to face consequences. You might have to face penal consequences that you have furnished inaccurate information. So it is very, very, very important that you get the assessment done and select the right category, select the right cells in the notification form. Now, when this notification has to be filed, so again, be in touch with your regulatory authorities. You will get the date from them. As of now, we see that these are the regulatory authorities who have released the due date. Dubai Airport Free Zone I have marked red because today the due date for Dubai Airport Free Zone licensees to file notification was 3rd May, but in afternoon there was the circular from DAWZA that the due date has been extended to 31st May 2020. Similarly, for RAC ICC, Ras Al Khaimah Economic Zone, Ajman Free Zone, DIFC, DMCC, the date is 30th June 2020. For ADGM, the previously declared date was 31st March, but later on, due to amid COVID-19, they extended, but the extended date is yet to be announced, so we are waiting for it. So these are if the attendees, any of you fall in this regulatory authorities which are mentioned on the screen, then please note the due dates before which you will have to ensure that you have filed the notification, you have got your assessment done on the activities, and you are furnishing proper details in your notification form. I hope to have made the notification details very clear. Now, moving on to the economic substance return. Again, return. Who needs to file the return? Here, it is very important that a licensee who is conducting a relevant activity and earning an income from the relevant activity has to file the return. Again, you have to file the return with your regulatory authority, and when. Now, this is a very big question mark because the notification dates are out by few of the regulatory authorities, and we are assuming that others would also come out, and we are expecting that the due date for other regulatory authorities might be 30th June only. So once this notification dates or notification filing is over, then we would come across the return date, and for the year December 2019, the notification has to be filed by December 2020, which means within 12 months, as the law says, within 12 months from the end of relevant financial year, you need to file the detailed return with the regulatory authority. Now, what these regulatory authorities are going to do with all these details? Just to focus on that, the regulatory authorities will compile this information of yours in a defined structure, and regulatory authorities will further has to file these details, these records with the competent authority, which in UAE is Ministry of Finance. Now, why Ministry of Finance suddenly required this details? So, as in our previous sessions also, we have given you the background that why this regulation is in UAE now. Even today, Mr. Manu were discussing that from where this economic substance has been generated, what is CBCR. So all these details are required by someone sitting outside, which is OECD. Now, all the member countries have signed an agreement to exchange the information. So all the details that you are filing with your regulatory authorities further goes to the competent authority, and competent authority is liable or can be sharing these details with the government of other countries. So probably, for example, Ministry of Finance can share the details of the companies who has your parent company back in Germany, or who has a parent company back in India, or who has a parent company back in some other XYZ country. So definitely the exchange of information will be there. So you will have to ensure that you are filing all the correct details with the authority, because it is a flow of transaction, a flow of information that is ultimately going to reach Ministry of Finance, and the information can be shared with other countries. So for your return, what do you have to file? You have to show that the relevant activities, that is your SIGA, the core income generating activities, are conducted in UAE. You'll have to show the proof, you'll have to present the documents, you'll have to show that what is the relevant, the income that has been generated from your activity, to what extent or the amount, the operating expenditures you are incurring in order to earn that income, the type and the amount of assets that you require. So you'll have to really prove it that suppose if you are conducting the business of a trading, suppose you are a trading licensee and you're conducting a business worth 30 million. So you need to have adequate assets to prove that, okay, these assets are large enough to get you an income of 30 million. So that is how it is going to be matched. So again, you need to have a proper assessment and all the sets in place to ensure that whatever you are earning is, and whatever you are spending, there is a matching concept for it. The qualification of your employees, the number of employees that you have hired, the declarations of whether you have met the economic substance test, as in the first session Mr. Manu had explained, all the three categories. So you'll have to prove all this detail, you will have to file that in the return. We will have a more detailed session on to return once we get some clarity or some like further notifications or guidance from the ministry. As of now, we had jotted down all this information based on our workings and our assessments for the clients in Cayman Island or Bahrain. So based on that, we could get this details. So by and large, the details would remain same, because all these countries have implemented ESR almost near the same time. Talking on to the powers of the regulatory authority. So authority can initiate the audit within 6 years. So you'll have to maintain all the records and documents physically or in electronic form with you for a period of at least 6 years from the date when you have filed your report, which means for December 2019 year end, you will have to maintain the records for 7 years, because you will be filing the report in December 2020. So from December 2020, 6 years. The next is authority can anytime enter your business premises to examine your documents. So you will not be getting any prior notice that, okay, we are going to come and you will not get time to prepare your documents or make available. It needs to be there. They can anytime come to your office to check anything. So you'll have to maintain ongoing compliance. The authority holds the power to suspend and revoke your license in case authority finds that you have been non-compliant and that non-compliance is not, it cannot be taken, and they can also refuse to renew your license. So it can really lead to a major disruption. So ensure that you meet the compliance and you meet the test. Penalty. Yes, the law has defined the financial penalties as well. So the failure to comply with economic substance, I know every one of you are aware of it, that in the first year it's around, it ranges from 10 to 50,000 dirhams, and for subsequent years it can go up to 300,000. Now, offences can be of two types as of now, as defined in the Cabinet Resolution number 31, but we are expecting that once the notifications or returns are filed, we would have a better list of it. As of now, the offences are of the nature that either you have failed to provide the information which is required to be filed with regulatory authorities, which can be you have not filed notification or you have not filed the return. That falls into category 1. Category 2 is you have filed inaccurate information and you have knowingly filed that inaccurate information at the time of providing, which means that purposely you have shown your relevant activity as no, but you were conducting a relevant activity. So you have done that knowingly and or sometimes maybe unknowingly, but then you'll have to have enough evidence and proofs that it was an error, it was a mistake, it was not knowingly that you have conducted. So these can be the types of offenses. What actions you need to take is very simple. As of now, all the licensees need to assess whether they conduct a relevant activity or they do not conduct a relevant activity. So please assess yourself, because this is a very groundwork or the foundation, and based on this assessment, all other steps would be defined. So if you see that, okay, in your assessment, if you find that it is applicable to you, then you will have to file notification and then meet the compliance test and then file the return. But if you say that, okay, it's not applicable, then the entire law is not applicable to you. So be very careful with your assessment. Step 2 would be submit the notification with your regulatory authority with all the accurate and correct information. Step 3 would be assess whether your business meet compliance requirements and the substance test. As mentioned in the first session, it should be ensured that you are meeting all the substantial requirements in order to say that you have met the compliance requirements of ESR. And lastly, for 2019, you need to file and submit the return, the declaration, which would be any time before December 2020 for the year ending December 2019. Similarly, we are assuming that for year ending March 2020, the deadline would be March 2021. We are not sure about this exact dates. This example is only put here keeping in mind the cabinet resolution, what has been given in the cabinet resolution. So that's all from my side. We would now invite the questions. I would like Mr. Manu to join this session, to join the Q&A.
Hi, Dara.
Yeah, hi.
I'm available. So we have already answered all the queries, and live all the queries we asked answered already. But still, will be for the benefit of the members. Even we posted in public, so people will be able to view it. Even in most of the cases, the questions are similar to this. Some of the questions it came like this. If they are conducting more than one activity, more than one relevant activity, whether you have to submit the information about both activities or not. Yes, we have to look into what are the relevant activities you are conducting. Suppose you are holding an activity license like banking, for example, or insurance. Along with that one, if you are covering relevant activities of distribution and service center, then you have to report only the banking activity or the insurance activity, because distribution and service center activity need not be reported, because you are conducting a major activity. So the distribution and service center activity will be forming part of the main activity. Suppose you are conducting holding company activity, and along with that one, that is, suppose you are earning only the dividend and then capital gain. At the same time, you are conducting another activity along with that. For example, distribution and service center. Then the distribution and service center activity will be holding the major. So we have to look into which activity you are conducting, then only we'll be able to analyze and advise which has to be important. In some cases, people are asking, if my financial year is May to April, or for example, is in a April to March. Suppose your year end is 31st March 2019. 31st March 2019, when you have to file the economic substance regulation return, you have to file, as per the regulation, you have to file within 12 months from the end of the financial year. What is the end of the financial year? 31st March 2020. So within 12 months means you have to file the return within 12 months. That means in 2021 March. Before 31st March 2021, you have to file the economic substance return. But keep in mind, the notification filing, that will be updated with you by your licensing authority. So you should have a close view on what is the due date of notification as per your regulatory authorities guidance. So another attendee was asking, you have shown only the list of some of the free zones, but in whether the law is not applicable in the Dubai mainland or not, because I am holding the Dubai mainland license. It is applicable to Dubai mainland as well. What we have shown, the list of the authorities are only those who already declared the due date. However, all the authorities will be declaring their due date, and we have to file the notification before the due date. So we will be updating you time to time the due date declared by different authorities. So you can have a watch on our updates, or we will be conducting regular updates like this. So you can come and attend the upcoming sessions as well. So those are the points which I thought of covering you from the questions which already our attendees asked. Here, Thara would like to ask some, handle some questions. If anything is there, we can take it forward.
I think all the questions are answered, and most of the questions are of
ready. Yeah, right.
So I think we have answered everything, and anyways we'll be posting all our FAQs in a segregated manner industry-wise on our social media and on our website. So anytime you can visit our pages to check to find out the answer for your questions, or else you can reach us out in case you have any concerns, queries, or you need any assistance from us.
Yeah, so that's right. So you can contact us and follow us going on. So I would like to hand over to Surabhi. So please, Surabhi, please take it forward.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Dara, for that wonderful session on economic substance regulation in the UAE. And I would like to thank all the attendees also, especially for those who've been here since our session 1 and finally this our session 5th. I've relaunched the poll. For those who have not polled can now do. And then what I can see the attendees are leaving also, but for those who are still here, I would request you to give us a good review. I'll be sending you a review link in our social medias and in Google. So we request you to at least, review our company and how you found our trainings and our seminars, which will also be of great use to us and will be very helpful.